Hi, it's Andrea from AC Health Solutions. It's November 16th, and I just wanted to put together a quick video on what happens when we get a bad news diagnosis with our health. So it could be that we've been told we have issues with our blood tests, or that we need to have more diagnostic tests, or that medically something isn't right. Um, how do we deal with this, and how do we make the best choice moving forwards? I think initially we'll all sort of have that feeling of panic where things feel a little bit out of control, and sometimes we can feel a bit like we've just jumped on a roller coaster of a system that we're not very sure of, but that we should do what we're told. And I think it's really important to consider a couple of things, because this is about you and your journey and your body and your health. And I don't think we ever should be told what's the best decision for us when we have to do what feels right for us. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't go and collect all of the facts about what's going on, but it is good to just stand back for a moment and have a feel into ourselves what's going on. Now, speaking personally, I've been at the back end of quite a few scary stories, diagnoses. The first time was when I was 18. I was having issues with soreness on my breasts from hockey, and was told by my doctor, oh, you should really get this seen to. So at aged 18, off I went to have a breast biopsy, and my best friend Mark came with me. He got so scared that he ran off and left me sitting in the waiting area of Barrington's Hospital. So I think it's just more an awkward memory than anything of being 18, being super self-conscious, having this probably a young male doctor, although he seemed a lot older to me at the time, barely being able to look him in the eye and talking about rugby while he poked around and took tissue samples. So it was quite scary and also quite funny when I look back. But I was told that there was sort of lumpy tissue there. It was fine, but that I'd be at increased risk of breast cancer, and we would have to keep an eye on it. And I think that's the first time that I could have played news either way. I had a sort of intuitive feeling, sure, everything will be fine. Now, I wasn't avoiding it. It just felt that, no, my body's fitter and stronger than that. I'm not going to take this diagnosis and tell myself at some point down the line that I'm going to have breast cancer. There seemed like a better intuitive explanation to me, and that was get a better bra. Don't be running around like an idiot on the hockey pitch and creating stress on the breast tissue. So it just made sense to me, and it's never been an issue since. But I look back now and I realize that that's how I think about everything in life now, and I didn't realize how strong I sort of was back then. Roll on, and I've had various times I've been told, actually when I was going through a lot of stress, I was getting heart palpitations, which will happen with stress, but the doctors will always err on the side of caution. So I had to do an ECG, and they told me that I had an enlarged left ventricle and that it would be better to not do exercise anymore. But again, intuition told me that, well, most people that do sport have a slightly enlarged left ventricle. To me, it felt stress related. Take care, hold back, mind yourself. And again, it's never been an issue since. I'm fitter and healthier than ever now. I don't ever avoid getting things checked out, but really do either get second opinions. Now, I'm medically trained, so I have researched and know enough to apply the science better to my situation. But I would say don't avoid things that might scare you. So I didn't. I got the diagnosis. There's a logical explanation for it, and everything's been fine since. Another time was when I was going through what really would be known as chronic fatigue, which is an area of expertise that I work in. So it's quite ironic that I had to go through it. In the medical field, that is considered an incurable diagnosis. In fact, if I was to go and get income payment protection insurance, they deny me on the fact that I had a low white blood cell count at one time and a diagnosis of chronic fatigue. But if you enter my world and the realm of functional medicine and holistic healing, we know that chronic fatigue, and some better medical experts also will agree, it's not an incurable condition. It's a syndrome or a cluster of a lot of things going on, which is why it's so hard to study, because we can't cluster everyone into one group. But again, completely curable and treatable. And I had to take it into my own hands to solve the issues for myself. But yes, again, mind over matter, figure things through, do the right thing, get yourself better. And so the story sort of continues. So I really, really understand when a scary diagnosis comes your way. I was being told that I possibly had leukemia when my fatigue was going on. And it just didn't feel right, and the evidence just didn't line up. So this is where I fought a little bit harder for what I believed in and had to step back and take care of myself. So what happens if you get a slightly scary diagnosis? And you're told that this is incurable and treatable and you need to take medicine for life. Do you settle with that, or do you explore other areas? I always believe that symptoms and diagnoses are our bodies trying to show us that something's wrong. So in my mind, I don't lie back and take the diagnosis as this is it. We can't do anything for you. Take medication and learn to live with it. I think that if we dig deeper and work and find the right people to work with, that we can always at least improve things, if not get our bodies back to functioning a lot better. So at this crossroads, I think it's important to take a quiet time and ask yourself, what do I do now? What really might be going on? Do I need to make changes in my lifestyle? Do I need to make changes to my exercise and activity levels? Do I need to look at how I manage stress? Am I happy? Do I need to change job? What's my diet like? Am I sort of living in a little bit of denial where there could be a lot of positive changes made? Has there been research done on various specifics within diet that may help my condition? For example, if inflammation is going on in the background of, say, heart disease or fatigue or autoimmune conditions, blood sugar imbalance regulations, actually inflammation can probably be linked to everything, but has there been a specific diet shown to help with this? And in the case of inflammation and a lot of other conditions, yes, there is a huge amount of research being done. So do I do my own research, or do I go to someone who can help me that maybe has more experience, so that I'm not getting lost in endless forums, blogs, and Google searches telling me what I should do? It's overwhelming, guys. I really, really, really urge you to work with an expert when it comes to trying to make the best decisions, because they may have seen what's going on for you many, many times. They may have learned ways that can help speed up the healing process and avoiding the errors and mistakes that we may make by trying to follow everybody else's online and media opinion. So look at diet. Then we need to look at if there's a genetic element, or if there's various environmental triggers, or if there's kind of other underlying factors that may be contributing to the condition. So for example, autoimmune conditions and the gut, mood disorders and depression, it has a link with the gut. In fact, I could probably say everything has a link to the gut, and it does. But there can be lots of other things, like liver function and cholesterol, for example, that are perhaps worth exploring. And for this, I would suggest an expert with a science background or medical background that has then gone on to do study integrative or functional medicine, so that they can tie in both worlds between the medical approach and what we would call the holistic or alternative or supportive approach. To be honest, it should all just be called medicine or healing or health prevention and treatment and management, but we seem to have got ourselves into all sorts of factions where we're fighting against one another. But really, we want someone who can take an open view on all approaches and work with you, me, whoever, on what feels right. We all resonate in different ways with different approaches, and it's about finding what's best for you, which is great. There's loads of options out there, but do make sure you're working with someone who has an adequate understanding of the science background, and who will start with a more balanced approach rather than a crazy extreme, because so much can be achieved in dealing with the basics. So yeah, so what I'm saying is take a blend of the medical route and the alternative route, or whichever way resonates best with you, and then give it a chance. It's a relationship when someone like me, who's trained in functional medicine, works with a patient. It's like peeling back an onion when we're trying to cure or treat a condition. So every positive and every negative is information about how we can go deeper and really get to the root causes and then make significant changes. So you need to give the person time, unless it feels totally wrong to you, when it's best to jump on to somebody else's help, but give it time. So we've talked about looking at our lifestyle, looking at our diet, looking at our environment, looking at our medical options, looking at our holistic and supportive options. Add-ons to that would be things like aromatherapy, acupuncture, mindfulness, yoga, getting out in nature, PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic wave frequency therapy, or other energetic therapies, healing therapies. These are all wonderful to add in on your journey. And again, follow what feels right for you and what resonates for you. This is the beauty of us having so many options. There's going to be one that works for you and one that works for another person. So everyone around you that loves you and cares about you is going to offer advice. So take their advice, but don't necessarily feel you have to do all of their advice. But explore and find what works for you. The one last thing that I'd ask you to have a think about is the relationship between our health, the symptoms in our body, and our emotions, or the emotions of the most recent and even distant past. Although I've come very much the science route, between a start in pharmacy where I thought drugs would save the world, and then exploring nutrition where I thought diet would heal the world, I've come to learn that the emotions link massively to health. And if we don't fully explore how we hold things in our bodies, what we've been through, our beliefs and perceptions about health, and our beliefs and perceptions about ourselves, and our beliefs and perceptions about illness, it's really important to explore all of these. In my mind, there's no doubt that there's a link between our emotions and the symptoms that we go through. And that's been a bitter pill for me to swallow, because there's been many times when I've had to stand back and go, okay, what's really going on? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this going on in my body? Why am I sick? Why have I got a head cold? Why have I got an injury? And generally, there's something emotional linked to it that I must address. And I've got very good at this. And I share the tips and techniques that I use with my clients. And that said, I feel that you are capable of honoring what the story is if you spend time alone with it. And don't be afraid to go there, because the fast track to healing, in my mind, is dealing with both the physical, from a science and a holistic point of view, and dealing with the emotional and spiritual. And if you commit to getting yourself to a place of wellness, it will happen, I believe, or at least very close to, as best we can. So you got to sort of feel your way into, yeah, I know I can be better. I can see myself feeling energetic, happy, having health again. You really have to place that goal in front of you and then fill it in with the steps to get you there. But in my mind, I believe we should fight to be well again. I believe we should leave no stone unturned in our quest to have health and happiness. And I guess I take that on board when I work with clients because it matters to me. And I believe that the body can heal given the right tools. Our body is turning itself over, the cells are repairing. We're not destined, even by genetics, to have a certain condition. We have a certain element of control, and being accountable to this journey and taking responsibility for our health and our bodies is huge. We're the only ones that can fix it, in truth. We're the only ones that can take action. We're the only ones that can follow what our intuition says about the healing path. In truth, we're the only ones that really know whether something's really right or very serious. And that's why sometimes we'll have feelings that disagree with what experts may say to us, because we intuitively know there's another reason, there's another explanation. And I think it's really important to honor that, really important. And I urge my clients to let me know when they disagree with me, because I might have got something wrong. You know, I'm still trying to put myself in your shoes and in your body, so to speak, with figuring out why health isn't optimal, and then figure the ways, the fastest ways and the most significant ways to get you back there. So I want you to take a bit of hope from this, that when you get bad news and you're told that there's something not right, that usually there's many reasons, and the more of those that we can uncover, the more we can solve them and then move forward. And I think that a medical diagnosis is wonderful because it gives us a reason for why we're feeling a certain way, but I don't think that it's necessarily something that we have to live with forever. For many of us, we may be lucky enough to pay attention when the body's screaming out and then take action and make change. So just know I'm here and I want to help, and I spend all of my time trying to figure out why we get sick and the best way to heal it, between the emotions and the science of it all, using diet, etc., etc. So send me a message if I can help, and hold strong if you're going through a rough time right now. Just know that all the hard work that you put in, it will pay off. Become your own best friend. Love you lots.